We are also going to the area of Rome. So Rome is the principal capital of Italy, and it is actually the oldest city probably in Europe, which is still the same city. So a little bit of history about Rome, and yeah. So tomorrow also we're going to do some of the historical sites of Rome, like the Colosseum and one of the famous fountains, which is the Trevi Fountain. And on the way, of course, we're going to learn about some of the squares and areas by our local guide. So we're going to have the walking tour first. So we explore the historical city of Rome. And then after also we explore the Vatican. So tomorrow actually we're visiting two cities in the same day. Yeah. So and one city which is a country also. So which is the Vatican. And yeah. So the Rome is a very old city. And they also call it the Eternal City. Eternal City because it never sleeps and never disappears. So the city was founded by the people called the Etruscan people. Okay, so there were two groups of people living in this area. We call it the Seven Hills of Rome. Okay, so we are on the Italian peninsula, and it's a mountainous region, and this area by the river Tiber. Okay, so the river, the main river that flows through the city is called Tiber, not Tiger with a B, Tiber. Yeah, so Tiber is the main river. So that is where the history of the city begins, according to the legend. Okay, so the legend goes very similar to another story. Maybe you will know which story I'm talking about. But there were two brothers. There were two brothers who founded the city, Romulus and Remus. Okay, so those were the two boys who actually were abandoned and were found in a basket flowing down the river. Okay, and they were saved by this wolf. So the wolf fed them and made them strong warriors. And so Romulus and Remus, they were actually fighting, not actually fighting, but Remus was killed, and because there was a city wall they were building, and no one was allowed to cross it, because I don't know what was the reason behind that, but the story goes that one of the brothers was killed, and the other one becomes the leader of the city. So Romulus, the first leader of this area. So in this region, when we go through, also these different tribes lived back then. So we're talking about 2,500 years ago. Very long distance in history. And later on, this city develops into a stronger nation, and Rome starts expanding. And the Roman civilization is basically the cradle of Western civilization as well, because many things that today you have has a deep old connection with the Romans. So at the peak of the Roman Empire, you had almost all of Europe, part of Great Britain, and also all the way to the Middle East, parts covered by the Romans. So and North Africa. So all these regions were all belonging to the Romans at the peak of this Roman Empire. So this whole empire stood for quite a long time, and for almost about 1,000 years. Okay, so about 1,000 years history, which is about the Romans. And so the Romans were clever people in a way. They were very well organized with the army. Yeah, so the army was undefeated many of the places, and so they took over most of first Southern Europe, and then going all the way up to the northern parts, up till almost the Netherlands, and also they were in Germany. Actually, the next week we're going to also visit one of the oldest cities of Germany, which was founded by the Romans, the city of Reims. So Reims is one of the border fortresses of the old Roman Empire. So their expansion went all around, and so they had many technologies developed in that time period, which made them very successful in their expansion. So their strategy was to either capture and conquer places, or through diplomacy make them allies. So most of the time it didn't work out with the diplomacy, so that's why they had a strong army. And so until they had expanded, they had a very strong military, which made them the basis of the working of the Roman Empire. They had also very interesting military tactics that they developed, and they were easily beating most of these barbaric people. They call it barbarians. Barbarian refers to the people who do not speak their language. So it doesn't mean that they are savages, but mostly if you see here barbarian means savage for you, or at least for most people. But it's coming from the term that they were not understanding what they were saying. So like blah blah blah, you know. So barbarian refers to the non-speaking people who don't speak the Latin. So the basis of the language also was the Latin. So Italy's today's language is Italian, which is the Romans language. Romans, it doesn't refer to Romans like love Romans, you know, but Romans language is like Spanish also. Yeah, so because Latin is the base of the language, so that's why it's called Romans, right? So Latin was used in official documents and writing, so that was one of the things. And also the Romans used different numbers. You know already the Roman numbers, right? Which we don't use anymore, but in some of the old documents, and also in the city, you will see on the buildings some of the numerals are actually not Arabic, but it's from the Roman numerals. Okay, so it's basically letters, right? And also they had a very great effect on the rest of the civilization in Europe, because they were the ones building these trading centers and trading goods throughout the Mediterranean as well. And so the structure of their politics, it was a republic. Before that, it was a kingdom. There were 7 kings of Rome before becoming a republic. And forming the republic meant they have a different set of politics. You would have the Senate. The Senate was ruled by the patricians. The patricians were the high-class citizens. Okay, so they were the noblemen. We can call them noblemen, but it just only refers to their status, not their morals. Mainly it means they were the rich and powerful landowners. They were the politicians who ruled and controlled most of the things that happened inside the empire. And then also you had the plebeians. They were the ones, the plebs, you can call them. They were the ones like the common people. Yeah. So common people were the secondary citizens, basically. They were free people, free to work, free to go around, but they had not much say in what went on in the politics, or anything else. So they had no real power. And so also you had another set of people which were the slaves. Slaves were used in this society. They were the servants of the rich people, basically. So, slaves were just like a commodity, right? So you could buy and sell slaves and also kill them or do whatever you want with them. And those slaves were usually coming from their conquest. So when you defeat a certain group of people, this is a very, well, I would say, traditional thing to do, because it was not only done by the Romans, it was done by the Vikings or different parts in the world. Always people used slaves. Slaves were the people who lost their right to live, basically, and they were subservient to other peoples, which is quite cruel. But back then there was no human rights, and there was no police to call like that. So people had little or no rights at all. It was a different time period, so you can imagine what life was like in Rome and other places which belonged to Rome. So throughout the conquest, as I said, they started first capturing areas in this peninsula. So the whole peninsula of what we call Italy was slowly captured, and they were moving first to the north and also captured the area of Switzerland and going towards the east, actually going all the way to the Danube River, today's Hungary. The western part was also covered, and also the area which we call today Croatia, and going down into the Middle East, Palestine, which is today called Israel, and Egypt, Northern Africa, all the states up in along the coast of the Mediterranean belong to the Romans. And also going up to France. Today's France was occupied, which they called Gaul. And you had also Spain, the Spanish Iberian Peninsula, which is today Spain, and Portugal was also part of, almost all of it was conquered by the Romans. Okay, so they built infrastructure in most of the trading hubs that they created, trading spices, goods to serve the city of Rome, basically. So Rome was actually getting richer and richer throughout the centuries, and then through these different periods also a lot of change comes into the system of politics. So first you had the Senate ruling, and then later on you had some other things happening, like you had the Caesars, right? So Julius Caesar was actually the first of his kind who became the emperor. So it became an empire in that time period, where he self-proclaimed himself to be the supreme leader of Rome. And from then on, it became a tradition until actually the fall of the Roman Empire. So different periods had different people which are noteworthy in this time period. But mostly, I would say very important in this is Constantine, for sure. Constantine was the one who lived in a period where the Christian religion born. So in that time period, he decided to actually introduce the religion as a state religion. Of course, as you know, the Romans before that, they had their own religion. So they were polytheists, which means they worshipped different gods. Okay, so different gods had different attributes which they were praying for. So the temples were built for different gods, right? And then it changes with the birth of Jesus. Of course, you guys know the story. And so also it's connecting to Rome, because Rome now is the heart of one of the major religions on the globe, which is the Christian religion. So the Constantine the Great, they called him. Constantine was in his lifetime actually always a pagan. We call them pagans, right? Whoever is not a Christian believer. So there is a debate going on whether he was a Christian or not, but possibly he wasn't. But on his deathbed, he said, "Okay, I'm Christian now." But before that, also he introduced the practice to be legal for the Christians. Before that, for a couple of centuries, it was forbidden because it wasn't